Sergeant Leo Cade stood in the steel hallway of the UNS Unity Dawn, staring at the silver door in front of him. He had served in many places, battlefields, military bases, and remote outposts, but this assignment was different. He wasn't guarding a general, or a scientist, or even a human. This time, he was guarding an alien. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a room that looked more like a luxury apartment than a secure holding room. Soft lights glowed from the ceiling. Strange vines climbed along the walls, giving the place a peaceful feeling. In the center stood the reason he was here, Ambassador Lysera of the Velari species. She turned to face him. Leo had seen images of Velari before, but they didn't do her justice. Her skin shimmered with a soft purple glow, like moonlight on a calm lake. Her eyes were large, silver, and full of quiet thought. She wore a flowing robe that seemed to move on its own, like it was alive. She didn't speak at first. She simply studied him, like she was trying to understand what kind of man had been sent to protect her. Leo stepped forward and saluted. Sergeant Leo Cade, reporting for duty, Ambassador. Her voice was soft and melodic. You are the one assigned to guard me. Yes, ma'am, I've been briefed. There are threats to your safety. Until this treaty summit is complete, I'm to stay by your side. She nodded slowly. Very well. You may sit, if you wish. Leo sat on a strange chair that adjusted to his weight. Everything in the room felt alien smooth, quiet, and too clean. He couldn't relax. His job was to be alert, not comfortable. A voice came through his earpiece. It was Commander Reese from the command deck. Cade, reminder, no unnecessary conversation, maintain distance, she's not one of us. Leo touched the mic near his collar. Understood, sir. Lysera tilted her head. You do not need to be so cold, Sergeant. I am not dangerous. That's not up to me to decide. Ambassador, she gave a soft smile. But it is, Sergeant. You were chosen to watch over me. That makes you the one person I must trust. Leo didn't answer. He kept scanning the room, noting the exits and any objects that could be used as weapons, but part of him was curious. Why would someone from such a secretive species risk coming to a human ship, and why were there threats against her? Later that evening, Leo reviewed his datapad while sitting just outside her room. His orders were clear: guard the Ambassador 24/7. She was not to leave her quarters without escort, and no personal contact. He read the threat reports again. There were at least 3 factions that wanted her dead. Some were human groups that feared aliens, others were unknown, possibly from her own kind. That made his job harder. Around midnight, the door behind him opened. Lysera stepped out, her long robe brushing the floor. You're still awake? She asked. Leo stood quickly. You should be inside. It's not safe. She looked calm. I could not sleep. I have never stayed on a human ship before. It feels ... hollow. He didn't understand what she meant. You should try to rest. We can't protect you if you wander. She gave him a long look. Do you always speak like this? So formal. Leo hesitated. I'm a soldier. It's how I'm trained. Lysera stepped closer, just a bit, not threatening but curious. Then, maybe it is time to learn a new way. Before he could respond, an alert rang in his earpiece. Cade, report to Security Hub. We've got a breach on Deck 6. Possible attempt on the Ambassador. Leo's heart jumped. Deck 6. That's just 2 levels down. He turned to Lysera back inside. Now she obeyed without protest. He followed and activated the room's lockdown. Steel panels slid down over the windows and doors. Lights turned red. He checked his pulse rifle, fully charged. Stay here. He told her, don't open the door for anyone but me. But she grabbed his wrist before he could leave. Her hand was warm, her fingers long and light. Please be careful, she whispered. I have seen enough death. Leo looked into her silver eyes for a second. He didn't feel like a soldier or a guard. He felt ... human. I will, he said softly. Then he was gone. Leo moved quickly through the halls, passing to security drones and another soldier. Deck 6 was already under control by the time he arrived. A human engineer had been caught trying to place a strange device near the oxygen systems. When questioned, he claimed it was a malfunction, but the device didn't look like any repair tool. Leo returned to Lysera's room just before dawn. He cancelled the lockdown and stepped inside. She was still awake. You are not harmed? She asked. No, the threat's been handled for now. She looked at him with something new in her expression. Was it worry or respect? I am glad, she said quietly. I do not want to be alone here. Leo took his seat again by the door, but this time he felt a change. This wasn't just a mission. Something deeper was starting. He didn't know what it was yet, but he knew this. He couldn't treat her like just another alien anymore. She was more than that. And something told him this assignment would change his life forever. After the attempted sabotage on Deck 6, security on the Unity Dawn was raised to its highest level. Every hallway now had drones. Every crew member was scanned twice a day. But even with all the technology, Sergeant Leo Cade knew something dangerous still lingered, something human eyes couldn't see. Inside the quiet safety of her quarters, Ambassador Lysera sat on the edge of her soft couch, gazing at the stars through the clear dome of her ceiling. Her silver eyes shimmered, like they were made from stardust. Leo stood guard just inside the room now. After the close call, Command allowed him to stay closer, but only until the summit ended. "Why do your people hate peace so much?" she asked softly, not looking at him. Leo shifted uncomfortably. "Not all humans hate peace, but some fear what they don't understand. And you, well, you're different." Lysera turned her head slightly. "So are you. Different, I mean." He raised an eyebrow. "Me? Yes," she said. "You do not treat me like a threat, or a thing. You look at me like I'm a person." Leo walked a little closer, but kept a respectful distance. "That's because you are a person." Her lips curved into a gentle smile. "Then why does your command treat me like a bomb waiting to explode?" He didn't answer, maybe because she was right. Over the next few days, the tension on the ship grew. Someone was still feeding information to outsiders. The crew whispered about a Molsum one on board who didn't want the Valari Treaty to happen. Leo didn't leave Lysera's side. He brought her food, monitored the cameras, slept outside her door. But the more time he spent near her, the more his job felt less like protection and more like companionship. One evening, the lights in her room dimmed, automatically to simulate nighttime. Lysera was curled up on her long seat, wearing a simple robe made of silk-like material. She looked smaller, more vulnerable than usual. Leo sat nearby, checking his datapad. "Do you miss your home?" she asked suddenly. Leo looked up, earthed. She nodded. "I do," he said. "But I've been away so long. Sometimes I wonder if I'd recognize it anymore." She was quiet for a moment. "I miss mine too. But even when I was there, I never felt welcome." Leo looked up from the screen. "What do you mean?" Lysera stood slowly and walked to the star window. "My people, they don't value those who speak against tradition. I refuse to be matched to a political mate. I chose my own voice. That's why they sent me here. Not to create peace, but to silence me." Leo felt a wave of anger. "They punished you." She nodded. "Yes, this mission is not a reward, it is exile." He stood now, taking a step closer. "Then they're fools. You're the bravest person on this ship." She turned, her eyes meeting his. "Do you really believe that?" "I wouldn't say it if I didn't." There was a silence between them, soft, warm, full of understanding. Then Lysera did something unexpected. She reached out and gently took his hand. "I feel safe when you're near," she whispered. Leo froze for a moment, surprised. No one had touched him like that in years. Her hand was warm, her skin smooth and light. He didn't pull away. "You are not just a guard," she said. "You are kind." Leo cleared his throat. "I am just doing my job." "Maybe, but your eyes say more." Before the moment could go further, an alert blared across the room. Leo's earpiece buzzed. "Security breach, level 8. Multiple systems offline. Suspected intruder activity." Leo let go of her hand and immediately moved to action. "Stay here. Lock this door behind me." But Lysera grabbed his arm. "No. If they come for me again, you may be too late. Take me with you." Leo hesitated. This broke every rule in the book. But she was right. If someone was coming, he couldn't protect her from the hallway. He nodded once. "Fine, stay close." They moved quickly through the corridor. Emergency lights blinked red. The hum of engines grew louder. Leo held his weapon steady, his eyes scanning every corner. No one was in sight. Yet the silence felt wrong to perfect. Suddenly a flash of movement. A shadow darted from a junction ahead. Leo raised his weapon. "Identify yourself." A masked figure turned the corner, then opened fire. Leo pushed Lysera down and returned fire. Sparks flew as plasma bolts hit the walls. One shot hit the ceiling. Above them, dropping metal debris, he turned and covered Lysera with his body until the gunfire stopped. When the smoke cleared, the intruder was gone. Leo helped her up. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "No, but that was close." He looked around. That wasn't random. Someone knew our route. He tapped his communicator. "Security. Someone's leaking movement paths. I need backup on level 8. Now they retreated to a maintenance room, locking the steel door behind them. Lysera sat on a crate, her hands trembling. I thought I was ready for this, but I'm not. Leo sat beside her. No one's ready for betrayal. Not the first time. She looked at him, her voice soft. You've been betrayed before. He nodded. I lost people. Friends' orders came too late, or were wrong, and I had to live with it. She reached out again, touching his hand gently. You carry pain. I see it in you. Leo looked at her. In that small, quiet room, her silver eyes looked brighter than ever. Not just because of her alien beauty, but because she understood him in a way no one else had. I'm supposed to protect you, he said quietly, but you're the one keeping me grounded. Lysera smiled. Then maybe we are protecting each other. They stayed like that for a while, sitting close, sharing silence. No words, no orders, no politics, just two people, far from home, holding on to the only real connection they had. The next morning came quietly, but the tension still hung in the air like smoke. The Unity Dawn's corridors were calm, but Leo Cade knew that was only on the surface. Something dark was moving under the ship's silence. Someone on board wanted Lysera gone, and they had nearly succeeded twice. Leo hadn't left her side since the incident on level 8. After the attack, Command ordered Lysera to be moved into a secured zone, but Leo disagreed. If someone inside the system was leaking information, then no official zone was safe. That's why he did the unthinkable. He brought Lysera into his personal cabin. It was a small space. Nothing special. A single bunk, a chair, a desk, no windows. But Leo knew every corner of it. He trusted it more than anywhere else. This is your room? Lysera asked, gently touching the old medal on the wall. Yeah, nothing fancy, but it's safe. No one knows you're here. She nodded and sat on the edge of his bed. Thank you, Leo. I trust you. Her words made something shift inside him. He had been called many things: soldier, killer, protector, but never had someone said they trusted him with such calm honesty. He sat on the chair across from her. We'll stay here until I find out who's leaking our positions. Lysera looked thoughtful. I have a feeling it's not just about me. Someone wants this treaty to fail, and they know that if I die, my people will leave the table. Leo leaned forward. You think it's political? She nodded slowly. Yes, some of my kind hate the idea of working with humans. They see it as weakness, and some humans feel the same way. Leo sighed. I've fought enough wars to know how fast peace can be destroyed. For the next few hours, Leo worked on his datapad, scanning security logs, reviewing footage, and cross-checking crew locations. Lysera sat quietly, watching him. Sometimes she asked questions, sometimes she just listened. The closeness between them had grown beyond duty. Later that night, the lights dimmed again, simulating night aboard the ship. Lysera stretched and stood beside the bunk. There's only one bed, she said softly. Leo glanced up, then looked away. I can sleep in the chair. Done it 100 times. She tilted her head. You don't have to. I do not mind sharing. I trust you. Leo paused. His training shouted to keep distance, to stay professional, but his heart was louder now. You sure? He asked. She nodded. You make me feel ... not so alone. They lay side by side on the narrow bed, backs to each other at first. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship. But after a few minutes, Lysera whispered into the dark. Leo ... Yeah, back on my homeworld, I was supposed to become a symbol, a tool for unity, they said. But I wanted to be more than a symbol. I wanted to choose my path. Leo turned to face her. Her silver eyes reflected the faint blue light from the screen across the room. You did choose, he said. You came here. You faced danger. That takes courage. She looked down. It's easier to be brave when someone like you stands beside me. He smiled softly. Funny, I was about to say the same thing. They both laughed quietly, their voices low and warm in the still room. It wasn't the laugh of soldiers or ambassadors, it was just two people, sharing the same small space in the universe. A moment passed, and Lysera's voice became serious. There's something I didn't tell you. Leo tensed. Go on, people ... They gave me one last order before I left. If peace talks fail, I am to return immediately. They believe my death here would be an acceptable cost to prove we were never meant to trust humans. Leo's fists clenched. They sent you as bait. In a way, she said, they never expected peace. They only wanted to test how far humans would go. And now, she looked at him, now I don't want to go back. Not to that life. Not when I've seen what humans really are. What you really are. Leo stood, anger and protectiveness rising in his chest. Then don't go back. We'll find a way. You deserve better. Lysera stood too. reaching out to hold his hand. I don't want to leave this room. Not tonight, not ever. They stood close now, no more lies between them. The bond had grown strong, born not of attraction, but trust, respect, and shared danger. Just then, the data pad on the desk beeped. Leo moved fast, checking the screen. Security report. Another breach attempt, this time near the hangar bay. His eyes narrowed. That's how they plan to get off the ship. They're trying to smuggle you out or fake your death. Lysera stood beside him. What do we do? Leo checked his gear. We stopped them, but not alone. He tapped a code into the pad, contacting a fellow soldier, Corporal Dina Rains. She was one of the few Leo trusted completely. Rains, he said, meet me near Bay 9. I've got a feeling someone's trying to steal the ambassador or worse, she replied. Copy that. Armed and ready. Leo turned to Lysera. Stay behind me. We'll end this tonight. They left the room together, moving through back corridors to avoid cameras. The lights were dim, the ship quieter than usual. It felt like walking through a dream or a trap. Near the hangar they spotted two figures near a cargo lift. One wore a UNS engineer uniform, the other had a hidden face under a hood. Lysera tensed. That one, he's Valari, she whispered. Leo raised his rifle. Stop right there. The two turned. The hooded one grabbed a device from his belt and triggered a flash of smoke. Leo pushed Lysera behind a crate. Stay down. Shots fired, short, sharp, and silent. Leo returned, fire moving fast and low. One of the attackers dropped. The Valari turned and ran. Corporal Rains arrived just in time to block his escape. She knocked him out with a shock. Baton. It was over in seconds. Leo walked over and pulled the hood back. The Valari had markings on his skin, military rank from their warrior caste. He wasn't here to negotiate, Leo said. He was here to kill her. Lysera looked down at the fallen figure. They're afraid of change, afraid of what peace will bring. Leo turned to her. But we're not. We'll face whatever comes, together. As they returned to Leo's quarters, hand in hand, the stars outside still shone the same, but inside, something had changed forever. They were no longer just protector, an alien. They were partners in something bigger, and neither of them wanted to go back. The tension on the Unity Dawn reached a breaking point. After the attack near the hangar, the truth was impossible to hide. Someone had tried to assassinate Ambassador Lissa, and not once, but 3 times. And worse, one of the attackers was her own kind. Leo Cade stood in the command room, facing Admiral Roth. The old officer stared at him with a hard look. You hid the ambassador in your personal quarters. Sergeant, Roth said coldly. You went off protocol. You endangered the treaty. Leo didn't back down. I saved her life, twice. That's not the point. It should be. The Admiral slammed a folder on the table. You disobeyed orders. You acted on your own. If this goes public, the whole mission could collapse. Leo leaned forward. And if I followed orders, Lysera would be dead. Then the mission would collapse anyway. Roth's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Finally, he waved. A hand. You're suspended from duty. Hand in your weapon. You are not to leave the barracks. Leo stared at him. And what happens to her? She'll be relocated to the diplomatic deck under full surveillance. No more secrets. Leo felt cold. You're locking her in a cage. She's a diplomat, not a prisoner. And this isn't your choice anymore. Leo walked out in silence. He said nothing, showed no emotion. But inside a storm was building. Lysera was already gone when he returned to his room. Her few belongings had been cleared. The bed was empty, the air still. Leo sat on the edge and stared at the spot where she had last slept. The scent of her perfume still lingered. He whispered to himself, I won't let them use you like that. Knock on the door broke the silence. It was Corporal Dina Rains. I heard what happened, she said, stepping in. They've got her locked down tight. 3 guards outside her door. No contact allowed. Leo nodded slowly. Then we'll have to break the rules again. Rains raised an eyebrow. You sure you want to go down that road? It won't be easy to come back from. I don't care, he said. She's not just some alien to me. She's not a target. She's not a threat. She's something more. Rains gave a small smile. Then let's go get her. Late that night, dressed in maintenance uniforms, Leo and Rains moved through the back corridors of the ship. The diplomatic deck was under lockdown, but they had learned every passage and vent in the last 2 years. Leo's memory was sharp. He remembered every detail, every blind spot. They reached a maintenance hatch behind the diplomatic quarters. Leo opened it quietly and climbed through. On the other side was Lysera's room, now guarded by silent steel doors and 2 marine sentries. Rains tapped into the panel system. I can loop the security cams for 3 minutes. That's all you'll get. Leo nodded. That's enough. She gave him the signal. Now he slipped into the room fast. Closing the hatch behind him, Lysera was standing near the window, arms folded across her chest. Her expression softened when she saw him. "Leo," she whispered. He walked to her, keeping his voice low. "I'm getting you out of here." She touched his arm. "Where would we go?" "There's an escape pod in the cargo wing. Rains can fly it to the diplomatic station on Luna Prime. It's neutral ground, safe for both humans and Valari. They'll see that as desertion." "Let them," Leo said. "I won't let them lock you away again." She looked into his eyes. "You would give up everything for me. I already have." For a moment, she looked like she might cry, but instead, she smiled. "Then let's go." They moved quickly through the service corridors. Rains met them near the cargo bay and handed Leo his weapon. "Pods ready. Coordinates set for Luna Prime. But we'll have heat the moment we launch." Leo helped Lysera into the pod. "We'll make it." Just as they sealed the hatch, alarms blared across the ship. "Unauthorized escape pod launch detected. Deck 5. All security units respond." Rains cursed. "We've got 5 minutes, max." The pod launched into space, shooing away from the Unity Dawn. Leo held Lysera's hand tightly as they left the ship behind. Through the window, the stars rushed past like glowing dust. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "No," he said. "You're worth every risk." Back on the Unity Dawn, Admiral Roth watched the escape pod vanish on his screen. "Track them," he ordered, "but do not fire." A young officer looked up. "Sir." "They're not traitors," Roth said softly. "They're the reason peace might actually work." The journey to Luna Prime took only a few hours, but it felt longer. Inside the pod, Leo and Lysera sat together, close but quiet. Neither knew what would happen next. Luna Prime's spaceport greeted them with flashing beacons. The station was a place of peace talks, neutral ground for many alien species. But security there would be high to dot. As they docked, Leo stood tall. "We tell them everything. About the attacks, the sabotage, the truth." Lysera nodded. "If peace has any hope, it must be built on truth." They stepped out of the pod together, ready to face whatever came next. But before they could speak, a group of diplomats and officers from both human and Valari governments surrounded them. No weapons were drawn. No voices were raised. Instead, one human diplomat stepped forward. "You two may have just saved this alliance." Leo blinked. "What?" The man smiled. "Admiral Roth sent a full report. The attacks, the orders, everything. Turns out, he believed in you more than he showed." Lysera looked surprised. "He let us go." The diplomat nodded. "He saw what this treaty really means, and how much you risked for it." Another Valari ambassador stepped forward. "Lysera, your actions have shaken the council. Many now believe you may be the one to guide us forward. With your human by your side." Leo and Lysera looked at each other. The journey wasn't over, but the future had changed. Together they had stood, against orders, against fear, and against silence. Now they stood for something greater, for peace, for hope, for love. Luna Prime's silver towers stretched above the clouds like peaceful fingers reaching into the sky. The large diplomatic station, floating between Earth and the Moon, had always been a symbol of cooperation. Now, it had become something more. It was the final place where peace would either live or die. Leo Cade stood in the sunlight pouring through the tall glass windows. He wore a formal Earth Coalition uniform, now pressed clean, decorated with a single silver star for bravery, but no armor, no weapon. For the first time in many years, he wasn't a soldier, he was a witness. Beside him stood Lysera, wearing a beautiful ceremonial robe of silver and blue. Her long hair was braided in the Valari style, and her eyes held both pride and calm. "It's happening," she whispered to Leo as they waited outside the great council chamber. He gave a slow nod. "The final talks. Either they sign or everything falls apart." Lysera looked at him. "And us? What happens to us after this?" Leo looked into her glowing silver eyes. "That depends. Do you still trust me?" "Always," she said, squeezing his hand. Just then, a diplomat in white robes stepped into the hall. "They're ready for you, Ambassador Lysera. Sergeant Cade, you may enter as her chosen companion." They walked into the great hall together. Inside, the room was filled with important people, Earth's top leaders, Valari elders, neutral species from far-off planets. The world watched this room through hundreds of live cameras. Silence fell as Lysera stepped forward. She began to speak. Not as a victim, not as a target, but as a voice for peace. "My name is Lysera of Villa Prime," she said clearly. "And I stand before you not as a symbol, but as someone who has seen both fear and hope. I came to this alliance as a diplomat, but now I speak as someone who found something precious among humans: courage, honesty, and love. Some murmurs moved through the crowd, she continued. There were those who tried to kill this treaty, some from my own kind, some from yours. But even in the darkest parts of this journey, I was protected by a human who believed in more than just orders. He believed in me. Leo stood quietly beside her, watching the room. She added, if we are to move forward, we must do more than sign papers. We must trust, not with speeches, but with actions. And I offer my life as that trust. At those words, a Velari elder stood slowly. Lysera, by our laws, you were sent as a voice, not to form personal bonds. Some would say you crossed lines. She bowed her head respectfully. Yes, I crossed a line, but sometimes that's the only way to find the truth. The elder paused. Then he looked toward the others. Perhaps that is what makes this union real. After long hours of careful words and quiet whispers, the council reached a vote. A screen lit up above them all. One by one, the delegates cast their decision. Earth Coalition, yes. Velari High Command, yes. Lunar Council, yes. Lunar Council, yes. And finally, the United Peace Authority. Yes, the treaty was signed. Peace, for the first time, was official. The chamber erupted in quiet applause, diplomatic, measured, but full of hope. Leo looked at Lysera. You did it. She smiled. We did it. Later that evening, under the glow of Earthlight from the dome above Lunar Prime, Leo and Lysera walked alone through the quiet gardens. Tomorrow, she said softly, I return to VOA Prime, to help build what comes next. He nodded. And I return to Earth. A desk job. They say. They stopped beside a tall white tree. The stars above twinkled like distant promises. Lysera turned to him. Do you wish we had more time? Leo thought. For a long moment, we had enough time to make a difference. That's more than most. She reached into her robe and handed him a small silver stone. It was shaped like a crescent moon. This is a symbol of the Velari bond, she explained. When two lives touch in a way that changes the future, we honor it with this. He looked at it quietly. And what do I do with it? You keep it close, and if we meet again, you return it to me, as a sign that the bond still lives. Leo smiled softly. Then I'll guard this with my life. She moved closer. I know you will. The final embrace was gentle, quiet, full of unspoken feelings. No kiss, no goodbye, filled with tears. Just understanding, respect, and a promise. Years passed. The treaty between Earth and Villa Prime became the foundation of a new galactic alliance. Trade, science, education, and exploration bloomed. Enemies became allies. Fear slowly became history. And though the world moved on, one man never forgot the silver stone he kept in a small box on his desk. Leo Cade, now a peace instructor at Earth Academy, trained the next generation not to fight but to protect. He taught them about loyalty, about truth, and about standing up when no one else will. He told them the story of a mission no one knew all the details about. One day, while walking through the Academy's garden, a message came to his communicator. It was marked with a Velari seal. Ambassador Lysera requests a private meeting. Location, Earth Embassy, Lunar Prime. Time, 1800 hours. Purpose, personal. Leo stared at the message. For a moment he couldn't move. Then, he reached into his coat pocket. Inside was a silver crescent stone. Still shining. Still shining. Still warm. He smiled and whispered to himself, she's back.